This is Kansas City Today. I'm Nomin Ujiyediin. Today is Thursday, June 4th. Coming up, a Missouri treatment center for teens experiencing trauma is facing lawsuits from former students around the country. The students say they experienced physical and sexual abuse while at the Lake Ozarks facility.
They're throwing kids to the ground, like being slammed to the ground. That happened to me so many times.
We'll hear more about the treatment center known as KCUR. But first, some headlines. Some Johnson County voters are pushing back on election officials' decision to close some early voting locations. Interim Election Commissioner Connie Schmidt announced the decision last month, saying the goal was to standardize hours of operation and make sure the whole county has equal access to early voting. Now there are 12 early voting sites in the county for the August primary. Democratic Congresswoman Sharice Davids represents parts of northeast Kansas. She told KCUR's Up to Date that rising gas prices will make it difficult for voters to travel to locations across the county.
This isn't a partisan issue. This is about making sure that everyone has the ability to access their right to vote.
David says she supports the county's decision to add 2 early voting locations in DeSoto and Spring Hill. Pharmacy technicians at the University of Kansas Health System lost their union election in mid-May by 2 votes. KCUR's Savannah Holly Bates reports they want a recount after dozens of ballots arrived in the mail late.
About 40% of the mail-in ballots arrived after the May 14th election. The Kansas Public Employee Relations Board is so far not counting the delayed ballots in the final tally, but many workers say they mailed their ballots well before the deadline, including Eric Kalovich, a pharmacy worker at the main hospital. He says the 37 uncounted votes have the power to change the outcome.
Those people are compliant based on what we were told to do, and to disenfranchise them for things that are beyond their control is wrong.
The technicians are gathering petition signatures and appealing to elected officials in Kansas to pressure the board for a recount.
A new 16,000-seat amphitheater opened last night in Riverside, just across the Missouri River from Kansas City, Kansas. KCUR's Frank Morris reports.
The new Morton Amphitheater is designed primarily as a music venue. Morton Salt Company, which moved from Chicago to Overland Park last year, bought the naming rights, and the company's iconic blonde girl with an umbrella dumping salt out in a rainstorm logo is on the entrance. The venue has a roof to keep concertgoers dry in the event of actual rain. The $135 million amphitheater took a year and a half to build. Parkville and Missouri taxpayers kicked in $25 million. Live Nation Entertainment signed a 20-year lease to manage the facility and has more than 40 shows booked through this fall.
A debate between Republican candidates for Kansas governor will air on Fox 4 KC tomorrow. Zach Boblet reports not all candidates will be there.
This is the second debate in a row in which Republican gubernatorial candidates Vicki Schmidt and Stacey Rogers will not participate due to terms demanded by the Kansas GOP. One requirement for debate participation is a $10,000 donation. A Kansas GOP official says the state party follows the presidential Republican primary debate model, and the required donations help pay for the venue. Rogers disagrees with the requirement.
It's pay to play, plain and simple.
Schmidt agrees with this position. She says that she would like to participate in the debate, but strongly disagrees with the required donation.
The Missouri Department of Natural Resources has approved construction of the state's first new landfill in more than 2 decades. The Presidio Environmental Repository Facility near Sedalia will have 90 acres dedicated to waste disposal. Manager Derek Standley says Missouri sends a significant amount of its waste to nearby states and needs more disposal capacity.
56% of all waste disposed of in the state of Kansas comes from Missouri. We put more garbage in Kansas than Kansas does. Moreover, one of the reasons that people have clean drinking water is because these facilities exist. It's really a terrible thing to imagine an environment where we don't have these facilities.
The company is still completing final permitting requirements and expects the facility to open next summer. We'll be back after this. A residential treatment center in Missouri says it aims to become to childhood trauma what St. Jude is to childhood cancer. But some former residents say they left the facility more traumatized than when they arrived. They describe a chaotic and sometimes violent environment. The Midwest Newsroom's Luke Nozica reports.
Lilo Bauer remembers waking in 2017 to find their mother sobbing at their bedside. There were 3 strangers standing in their northeastern Illinois home.
They posed this question, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Bauer, who is non-binary, was being gooned. In the so-called troubled teen industry, it's when a secure transport company, often hired by a teen's parent, takes a child to a boarding school or a treatment center. Bauer had heard horror stories about kids being thrown in vehicles and taken against their will, so they went willingly. Bauer didn't know it yet, but they were being taken hours away to Change Academy at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Also known as KALO, the facility takes in kids from across the country, promising a therapeutic environment to help them heal from developmental trauma. But some former students say employees used restraints that turned into physical abuse.
They're throwing kids to the ground, being slammed to the ground. That happened to me so many times, being slammed to the ground, you end up covered with bruises, and that happened frequently.
Bauer is now among 15 former students who are suing KALO, alleging physical and emotional abuse by staff. Their attorney, Kansas City-based Robert Thrasher, says about half of his clients were also sexually abused by fellow residents.
And when the kids show up and the parents leave, or when the kids are brought there, they are greeted with an environment that is very, it's a very combative environment. It's been described as a prison-like environment. Everybody is kind of fending for themselves.
In a statement, a KALO spokesperson tells the Midwest Newsroom it does not tolerate staff aggression and denies all claims of abuse and neglect. KALO also says the lawsuits are without merit and that the facility exists to serve students and families the broader system has given up on. Another former student is Taylor Kiesel. She attended KALO in 2022 and 2023 and says she was in fight or flight mode 24/7.
They would instigate kids, especially like me with trauma. They would corner you, get up in your face, get you to do something so that they have the jurisdiction to restrain you.
Kiesel was 16 and 110 pounds when, she says, an employee assaulted her.
He grabbed me and he slammed me down onto the asphalt. Got a concussion that I was never treated for. And he began hitting me. And this is a guy that's probably 6'2", really bulky compared to me, a teenage girl at the time.
KALO is a licensed facility in Missouri, but does not currently hold a contract with the Children's Division. On rare occasions, Missouri has placed children in its legal custody there. Since KALO opened in 2007, Missouri's Child Welfare Agency has documented 5 findings of physical abuse and 5 of sexual abuse involving KALO. Records also show that the Camden County Sheriff's Office has received at least 400 calls tied to KALO's address, including for reports of runaways, assaults, and sexual abuse. As for Lilo Bauer, they graduated last month with a bachelor's degree in social work from the University of Iowa, where they are now in a master's program. They plan to become a social worker for survivors of abuse, including those harmed in the troubled teen industry.
We can support kids and their mental health without ripping them from homes and labeling them troubled teens.
No agency in the state of Missouri is currently investigating KALO. For the Midwest Newsroom, I'm Luke Nozica in St. Louis.
The Midwest Newsroom is a collaboration including NPR and member stations in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. The Midwest Newsroom is a member of the Trust Project. This is Kansas City Today. I'm Nomin Ujiyediin. This episode was produced by Byron Love and KCUR Studios. It was edited by Madeline Fox and Gabe Rosenberg. Our music comes from Blue Dot Sessions. To read Luke's story on KALO, visit kcur.org, where you can find more Kansas and Missouri news from Kansas City's NPR station. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.